part of his life. What we're going to be doing here is, as usual in a DMV gathering, we don't do things by the book. So the invocation is going to be given by the honoree. After the invocation, we're going to have one of Michael's famous lunches. During lunch, we're going to have a video. A few years back, Rose Boyce found a new calling. She became the Cecil B. DeMille, I think. We'll make that Cecil B. DeMille, or Rosa B. DeMille, of DMV. And she has been taping a number of the retirement parties and different events throughout the agency. She has spent quite a bit of time taking excerpts of all those tapes, putting it together, and we're going to have that tape while we're having lunch. Some of you here don't understand the DMV game as it's been played over the last few years, so this will give you an idea of what might be coming after lunch. So enjoy lunch, and I'd like to ask Bob Hogan to come up and give us the invocation.
Thank you, Duncan. I also had planned to introduce my family at this time. However, only 2 of my family are here at this moment, so I'm going to wait for the others to come, and then we'll introduce them. So for now, I'd just like to give the invocation before we... It's an Irish prayer. May those that love us, and those that don't, and if he doesn't turn their hearts, may he turn their ankles. So when all the bastards buy their limping.
We're just starting. How do you follow? Before we break bread, I got one little thing we'd like to do also. I'd like to ask Joan Gottwald to come up here for a minute, please. Joan? Oh, here she is.
You're probably wondering what I'm doing here. I don't work for Bob Hogan, and I never did. I don't golf with Bob Hogan, and I never did. As a matter of fact, I only have a passing acquaintance relationship with Mr. Hogan.
She doesn't mess around with me, and she never did either.
However, I represent a large constituency here at DMV. I represent the Green Carnation Ladies. As you all know, Mr. Hogan, every St. Patrick's Day, out of the generosity of his heart, shares the pride of his heritage by handing out green carnations to probably almost every lady that's here that works in the department. So I would like to extend our appreciation and our wishes to Mr. Hogan through this prayer. It's an old Irish blessing. He almost gave me a heart attack when he did his. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand with love and appreciation from the Green Carnation Ladies.
Everybody have a good lunch. We're going to turn the video on now, and we hope it doesn't disrupt your lunch too much. Laugh if you feel like it, but just enjoy it.
Charge your wits are going to be beyond irreplaceable. Rose Boyce has spent a lot of time over the years filming a number of the events that you have played an important role in. And she has actually put together clips from all of these events into what amounts to around 1 hour of vintage content. We hope you enjoy this. We hope you get a chance retirement years. First, we're going to see Bob Hogan.
Rose has really gotten into taking videos of many of these festivities, and it's nice to have a record of what's happened. I think you all can realize how much Bob Hogan has meant to many of us in the agency. He is, without question, the person most in demand to act as master of ceremonies for parties we've had over the last few years. There's a couple other in the agency that speak very well. I don't consider myself to be one of them, but Bob, Charlie Carroll, and on occasion a few others like Frank Pugliano have done a tremendous job, and I hope I don't trip over my own tongue up here today. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize Rudy, Rick, and their great staff for the wonderful meal that we had today and for this beautiful setting. Rudy, Harry Personas wants me to tell you that now that the Hogue is being pasteurized, so to speak, Harry is the only authorized DMVer to deal with when negotiating prices and/or incentives related to future business. The fact that he works in Long Island means nothing. A good deal is worth a little trouble.
That's why I'm up here, Duncan.
It wouldn't be home without you, Harry. Thanks for coming. Before we started our meal, we heard briefly from Bob, and toward the end of the festivities, we will hear from him again. Who am I kidding? We're going to hear from him all afternoon whenever he's got something to say. I'm sure he really appreciates this fabulous turnout to help him celebrate his change of life. That got no laughs when I went through it in rehearsal. As the afternoon progresses, we will get to meet many of the people special to Bob. As of today, and I can now declare it official, Bob is retired and therefore is now what is known as a super senior. Now, I've had the pleasure of being with Bob on a visit to a casino in Atlantic City. And I am sure that he will be glad to hear that there now exists a new game of chance for super seniors called Super Slots. Instead of winning when you get 3 cherries, you win when you get 3 prunes. And you get to go straight to the crap table. They're turning already, Bob. They're turning. It has been said that humans are fraught with frailties. Clearly, some have more than others. But almost all of us share one common frailty. We see ourselves in one light, but others see us completely differently. I happen to know that Bob Hogan is one of those rare humans who presents no such paradox. I am sure of this because I got it straight from the horse's mouth. I asked Bob, and he told me, what you see is what you get. He went on to say that without a doubt, he is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, thrifty, brave, and bring the reverend. And that these virtues are obvious to all who have had the pleasure of his acquaintance. Can you believe it? Bob, a Boy Scout. To play on a stick used with good success by a group called the Capitol Steps, from time to time I'm going to use one of their little schemes. It has to do with changing the first letters of adjacent words. So, from here on in, let me put you on warning, Bob. You're in intrigue bubble. For the next hour or so, we will see many an example of how Bob is seen by some of those who have been working with him over the years. Some of the presentations will be of a serious nature. Others will be really serious. To start our tribute to Commissioner Hogan, I call upon the Princess of Denbigh, Her Royal Shyness. Commissioner, call me Patty Aducci.
I think what follows this afternoon is probably going to be a very hard act to follow. And I gave quite a bit of thought to what I was going to say this afternoon about in the last 5 minutes. And I decided that it's really hard to say things about a person who is larger than life. And yes, Bob, that's a fat joke before you ask me. All the things that you think of to say seem trite and unremarkable. I decided instead to tell you the truth. He really is a son of a bitch. He smokes too much. He's old. He's fat. He's a little absent-minded. And he really is a male chauvinist. The fact that he got me a book about women on top, notwithstanding. And you never get the last word. I want to tell you 2 golf stories that I can personally attest to. I've had 2 golf experiences with Bob Hogan. The first one was in the DMV Golf League, and I got to play with Bob one day, and I'm not sure how that happened because he avoided it whenever he could. And as everyone here knows, I'm the world's worst golfer. And I was having an even worse day than usual the day I played with Bob Hogan. And finally, after I came back, and I was really disgusted, and I was being myself, and he said, look, he said, let me just give you a hint here. He said, if you just use a 5-wood and a 7-iron, and forget the other clubs, he said, you'll probably do a little better. So I took his advice, and I did a little better. But his game started to go to hell in a handbasket. And he just kept getting worse and worse. And finally he came back and he was really annoyed with himself. And I said, Bob, if you just use a 7-iron and a 5-wood. He came back with something, because I didn't get the last word, but I blocked it out. The second experience I had was at an AMBA golf tournament. And Bob, he does brown nose a little every once in a while. And he said, Commissioner, I'm going to drive you to this tournament. I'll put your clubs in the car. I'll drive you. I'll take care of you. Well, everything will be fine. And we get to the golf course, and he drives up to the main entrance, and he said, no, look, you get out here. I'll take care of everything. I'll bring your clubs. I'll take care of the whole thing. So I go inside. I start talking to some people. And unbeknownst to me, Bob closed the car door and locked it with the engine running and the keys inside. With all the clubs, of course, locked in the trunk. And he went in, he said, well, what am I going to do about this? And he ran in and talked to the guy that's in charge of the pro house or whatever, and he said, look, you got to help me out. He said, I'm in big trouble here. My boss locked your keys in the car. And she's the commissioner of motor vehicles, by the way. However, in spite of these obvious shortcomings and character flaws, he's funny. Under all the bluster and bravado, he is a sensitive and caring person. He is a loyal and loving friend. And oh, by the way, he's really neat. We can't believe his leaving. We will miss him very much, and we love him very much.
We gotta put a mic at that table. We gotta get a mic at that table. Get a mic at that table. Pat was right, he got the last word on that one. I'm not sure what it was, but...
I didn't know who it was.
Who are you?
Not too long ago, the day-to-day stewardship of the Duchess of Denbigh passed into the hands of our next speaker. He became yet the latest in a line of successors to the title formerly held by our honoree, Commissioner Kogan. The Commissioner immediately recognized some of the many attributes the young pretender to the role possesses and dumped him cool, or not so cool, waters. It is my pleasure, and I hope not one of my last acts with DMV, to introduce our latter-day Bob, Executive Deputy Commissioner Waters.
I thought Patty's remarks were very funny, and
stole most of my lines, so I'm going to have to be very serious. Matter of fact, I'm one of those solemn talks that Duncan referred to. There will be some serious things happening today. In fact, Bob Hogan is a legendary figure at DMV. Today, as we gather here, Mark is leaving us, is indeed a solemn occasion. I certainly don't intend to demean these proceedings with any inappropriate cheap shots or wisecracks about Bob. In fact, I woke up this morning at 5 a.m. and realized that today is the day. Bob is leaving us for good. I was in a cold sweat, had to do something. Then I realized I was in a cold sweat because I'm still recovering from pneumonia. So I went back to sleep. I figured that by going back to sleep, I'd replicate Bob's professional activities over the past several months, and in that fashion, in some small way, honor Bob. I rewoke at 6 o'clock in the morning. I still hadn't prepared any remarks. I knew I had to do something in Hogan's honor, so I had breakfast. The long and the short of it is, I actually gave this serious matter some thought in the corner over there a couple of minutes ago where I was writing some notes down, but Bob, if this sounds just a bit like I'm unprepared, I'm really sorry. But as my mentor in these and other matters, I'm sure you're proud that I'm taking on your style. The problem is, what fitting tribute can I say about Bob that won't be said more eloquently by others today? Others who've known him far longer than I. The truth is, I've only known Bob about 2 years ago, like my failed marriage, it's felt like about 20. That didn't really come out right. What I really meant is I meant to say that because of our richly rewarding relationship, I really do feel like I've known Bob for a lifetime. I can't believe it, though. I mean, here I am, near the beginning of the program. Only Patty was around to steal my lines. And I have nearly limitless fertile ground to go over and talk about Bob. But I'm close to speechless because I guess because I've got some inkling of what's in store next on the program. But really, I'm probably speechless because, as Bob says, I'm best at summing things up. That's his nice way of telling me I have nothing original to say. But I will sum up some of the highlights of my association with Bob. I said he was my mentor, and truly he has been. In fact, I remember when I first joined DMV, my immediate predecessor, Norm Schneider, was kind enough to sit down with me and explain to me what DMV was all about, how he liked to operate things, and how I should carry on the business. About 5 minutes passed, and Ed Sheridan came in the office and said, before Norm had the job, I did something there myself. I had the job. And listen to me, I'll tell you what to do. And Ed filled my ear with his views on the office. And Bob stormed in. I think the door was still warm for me to touch. Bob walks in, says, forget what those clowns told you. I really had the job, and I'm still around to make sure you do it right. And I want you to do it my way. So truly, because Bob forced me to do it, I've learned to do things Bob's way, that is, with plenty of boost. You have to know, when I joined DMV, I was basically a teetotaler. After completing Bob's required mentoring course of 9,000 drinking hours, I can't even total up how much booze I've had. I know I put on weight, I smoke too much, pneumonia has made me wheeze, and for some reason I've begun to develop sciatica. I hope it has nothing to do with that Irish blessing, but I can tell you what. It seems clear to me that Bob has remade me into his own image. But being the transportation safety conscious DMV stalwart that he is, I don't mean to suggest at all that Bob would condone drinking and driving. In fact, he's shanghaied me off to some very safe places to drink. For example, Yono's. That's Bob's favorite watering hole. Through the public spirited cooperation of Yono and Donna, who are here, the owners, and their fearless bartender Frank, who I believe I also see here, different progressive methods have been used to prevent DMV officials from getting drunk and driving. For Bob and I, there's a special method They pour the drinks by the thimbleful. For that, Bob and I wish to thank Jonas, really, for the many safe passages home. And incidentally, you have to know, I was put up to that line. This portion, this segment of my speech has been sponsored by the friends of Wayne Spencer. But Bob hasn't just mentored me at Donos. That's certainly not the extent of it. I remember well the time that he accompanied me to Dallas. He introduced me to a variety of AMBA officials and our counterparts from other states across the country. It was to be a very important introductory trip, a sort of passing of the torch from Bob to me. He was going to show me around, let me know who we sued. I never did meet any of those people, though. Bob got plastered trying every single small scotch in the bar, and then some. However, as he stumbled off to his room, he was teaching me to the very end. He was mumbling something about this being the way to drink and not to drive, and I should remember that. I also don't mean to suggest that it's been a total one-way experience. Bob has truly been my mentor, but I believe I've taught him a little something. For example, I'd like to take credit for getting him at a late stage in his career involved with computers. I had to do this through a Pavlovian method called baseball, because Bob really had no interest in doing work on computers. But baseball is one of his loves, as many of you know. And through computers, Bob has become a true baseball expert. I understand he's going to be the recording computer secretary of 2 rotisserie baseball leagues next year, based on the expertise he's gained at DMV, because he's frittered away a lot of his time doing baseball. I know one thing, Bob was always an American League fan, and because of his rotisserie experiences, in fact, now become something of a National League fan as well. I didn't know exactly what to get him. I didn't know what league he liked best, but I was looking around and I did find a present for Bob. And I thought it captured the real Hogan spirit, the real baseball hat that you could wear proudly, Bob. And it says, I don't know if you read it, but in true Hogan fashion, it says, I may be old and gray, but you're young and stupid. When I'm done with this little speech, I'll come down and present it to you. I hope you do enjoy it. It does seem like you, Bob. It really does. Also, I have to say, I didn't think the baseball hat was quite enough. I mean, I know Bob is a great lover of wildlife. I know that looking forward to his retirement, Bob is going to be counting the days, looking at the months. He's not going to have that much to do, as I understand it, much like work. But, I did find an appropriate wildlife calendar to give to Bob. And it's a sensitive thing. It refers, it's a whole theme referring to a long-eared equine quadruped, smaller than the ordinary horse, used as a beast of burden, otherwise known as the donkey, or as you can see, the ass. And it reminded me of Bob in the last several months, since you're just sitting on my ass. And to go through the rest of the calendar, Bob, you can see that there's equally appropriate things you can do in the future. So I hope it won't be too traumatic of a transition from sitting on your ass at work to having a good time from your retirement. But it's more than that. Truly, Bob has been a kind and gentle soul to me. I know that at one green tie luncheon, thought that being Jewish, I guess I didn't really know enough about the Irish. My tie wasn't green enough. I thought my gills were, but my tie wasn't. And he gave me a very nice St. Patrick's Day tie, which I'll cherish forever. But I know he's always secretly been an admirer of my own somewhat fashion plate appearance around the agency. And I know he doesn't like to tell me to my face, he doesn't want it to go to my head, but he tells me that some of the ties I wear, I know he loves them, I know that he thinks they're great, but he says he wouldn't be caught dead in them. And since Patty gave me most of those, I just... But there was one tie that he particularly liked. As a matter of fact, it meant a lot to me. It was given to me when I left my last job. It was a $75 tie, also ultra-modern. It's clearly the height of fashion. and that was Bob's particular favorite, at least according to the folks behind his back who told me what he said behind my back. And, because, in fact, it's a tie I'm wearing. I don't know if you can see this beautiful tie here, but because of this, Bob, I'm giving this to you. It's not much that a young guy could pass on to an older fellow, but it's a tradition that somebody should get these ties when they leave some job, because how the hell else can you pawn them off? So I'm giving you this $75 silk tie that you will enjoy in retirement. When you do come back, which I hope is frequently, you'll wear this. And I know you're not wearing a tie today. Perhaps you could wear it for the remainder of the party.
It's a wonderful tie to wear to dinner because if you spill something out, nobody will know it.
Matter of fact, I don't know if you recall the last time we went out, but there are a few states. That's why I'm giving it to you, so you can finally pick up the cleaning bill, Bob. But really, whatever Bob's referred to, I mean, some people call him Commissioner Hogan, others have called him Director Hogan. I know that some people just call him Bob, or as we say, Jonas, hey, you with the empty glass. Bob, truly, we love you, and we're going to miss you. I hope you come back and visit us frequently. I know that in the course of our social lives, we'll have our paths cross frequently. It's been more than a pleasure knowing you for the past 2 years, and I hope I know you for many more.
I guess I was a little quick in saying that Bob Waters was a pretender to the role. It looks like he's going to fit right in. You'll know he's really made his day when his hair turns white. I'm going to switch the agenda a little bit here now, and I'm going to introduce and ask to say a few words if they wish to do so. 2 former commissioners of the Department of Motor Vehicles. They both played a role in Bob's career, and I know he counts both of them as very, very dear friends. First, I'd like to introduce Commissioner Jim Melton. Jim was with the agency for a number of years, and while he was with the agency, Bob moved to the rank of Executive Deputy Commissioner. Commissioner Melton, please.
Thank you, Duncan. It's a pleasure to see so many people and faces after all these years. I guess it's 11 or 12 years since I've been here. After listening to Patty and her deputy speak about Bob Hogan, I kind of doubt whether this was a voluntary retirement. And it was kind of ludicrous to think that Bob would give a benediction with a preface that would be a Irish benediction. What the hell do you think would be a Polish benediction? Many years ago, Bob was in Ireland, and he stopped at Jury's Hotel. And he had a few drinks there. And just off Jury's, there's a one-way street called Grafton Street. And Bob gets in his car heading out to the country. He goes up the street the wrong way. And a Dublin cop stops him and he says, "Where the hell do you think you're going?" Bob looked straight in his eyes and said, "I don't know. I must be late. They're all coming back." And the cop says to him, "Didn't you see the arrows there?" He said, "God damn, I didn't even see the Indians." But we've had a lot of good times together. Years ago, when I'd come up Monday and Tuesday, people would think that I was very busy getting new programs together. But it was simply trying to find out where Hogan was that week. Atlanta, Seattle, what convention was going on. And finally, along about Wednesday, we got him located and got down to doing some work. But it's been very happy times with him, his family, and with you people who I've served with over the years. And I'm very happy and lucky to be here. Thank you.
Commissioner Boschio, just let me say that there are a lot of people here from a lot of ways of life who have come to honor Bob today. And we're going to hear from some of them, and we're going to introduce some of them as we go along. You're also likely to hear a number of acronyms. We've already heard of AMBA, and we're going to hear some more as we go through the day. And it reminds me of a story. I ran across the street one day to get a sandwich quickly. I went in and I sat down and I asked for a BLTN key. And the waitress looked at me and she said, I'm sorry, I don't understand what that is. And I said, oh, well, it's easy. It's a bacon, lettuce, and tomato, no toast. And she said, oh, we can do that. In fact, we can make toast real quick, no problem. I said, no, I prefer it on bread. So she goes away, and a few minutes later brings it back, gives me a cup of coffee, and goes about her duties. Well, as a good waitress should, she came back in a few minutes and noticed my coffee cup was down, started to refill it. And she said, how's the sandwich? And I said, SOB. And she kind of taken back a bit, and I said, no, you don't understand. SOB means soggy on the bottom. Well, she didn't bat an eye. She looked at me and she said, SHIT. And I said, now who's getting nasty? She said, no, you don't understand. You should have had it toasted. So if you get an acronym you don't understand, you got to ask. Commissioner Les Boschio is with us also. Like so many others, the Irish charm, or was it the Irish blarney of Commissioner Cogan, mesmerized the young and impressionable man from the western regions of the state. Les, like Jim, saw through, however, the many mysteries of the man-child, our hero, and became a true friend of our boy. It's nice to have you with us again, Commissioner Boschio.
Thank you, Duncan. To paraphrase Shakespeare, I have not come to praise Hogan, but to help do something else, I guess, today. Bob, I want to tell you that it was a special pleasure, first of all, to be invited here to see so many familiar faces, old friends, good friends. The Waters stole my thunder a little bit, although it was actually Hogan that said to me when I left after 2 years, he said, Les, he said, it seems like 20. Bob, that line isn't exactly original. And Bob, I just can't understand, why is it that there are more people here than you had for me when I left in 1983? That's the only question I have. Nothing much has changed. As I learned from the previous speakers, Bob is still sucking up with the commissioners. And always overriding whoever the commissioner might be talking to at the time. Every opportunity Fort McGurk had to get in to see me privately, Hogan would be right on top of him within a few seconds, overriding everything he had to say. They were a great team. I never had the pleasure of playing golf with Bob. I don't understand that, but maybe we'll have that chance now as we go forward. I have many happy memories of D&B working with Bob. Most of them, since I'm now a judicial officer of federal court, cannot be repeated here in public. So we will adhere to the canons of judicial ethics and hold our peace in that regard. Bob, I can't tell you, it's amazing to think that here we are on the brink of an historic moment of the godfather of a state agency. I mean, I don't think there ever has been one. We have one now that's about to retire. This is truly a historic event. And I know that there are many people in this room that owe a lot to you. Many Hogan's heroes and Hogan's heroines, if you will, are with us today and elsewhere that aren't here. And I count myself among them. It was a real pleasure and an honor to have worked with you for those 2 brief years. And I will cherish our time together for the rest of my life. And as Duncan indicated, we certainly count you as a friend. My best wishes to you and Betty and the family for many, many years of health and happiness. Now, we've heard from the Irish, as many of you know, after Jim Melton's distinguished career, Governor Kerry thought it would be useful to have a little Italian and a little Polish. I don't know much Italian. I'll let Billy and the guys from Connecticut handle that. But as they say in Polish, Still a lot. May you live 100 years and God bless. I have a presentation. This gift is something very, very special. I hope you'll appreciate it. If you don't blame me. And for those of you, I want to warn you, those of you who laugh, you're going to be dating yourself. So I'll just warn you in advance. But Bob, from me to you, God bless. Many happy
Thank
returns.
you. Listen, Les, is it a picture of you, or is it a real community?
Duncan told me to give it to you.
I could use a real community.
Picture of that. It's real payback because I thought I had gotten all 37 copies. So I must have missed one.
I think a measure of a man is the number of people who, having worked with him only for a couple of years, almost 10 years ago, take time out of what is a very busy schedule, I'm sure, to come and spend some time with him. We know Commissioner Melton has to catch a plane, and we thank very, very much the fact that he came and spent this time with Bob and his friends today. Commissioner Melton, nice to see you again. Those of us who have known Bob know how much he likes baseball, and I think Commissioner Waters has already made remarks about that. He does love baseball in general, but in particular, he's always loved the Boston Red Sox. There's always one or two in the crowd. It's amazing. People wonder what somebody like Bob Hogan is going to do when he pulls the plug, so to speak, and goes to retirement. Let me share with you something that Bob worked out over a year ago. It's amazing. Each year, the Red Sox winter in Winter Haven, or actually start spring training down there. And Bob, by hook or by crook, I guess, and Commissioner Melton really should have started looking in the Orlando area for the springtime, because that's where Bob is going to be. But by hook or by crook, he managed to get to see some of the spring training at the Red Sox camps at least every other year. This year, the Red Sox are moving to Fort Myers area for their spring training. And over a year ago, Bob was able to get a real plum of a job. This spring, Bob will be head usher at the Red Sox training facility in Fort Myers, Florida. Imagine that. He told me he'd probably last about 3 days because he'll get on Boggs if that guy's dogging it, and I'll throw him right out in his ear. We're going to take a minute here now and read a couple of letters. Actually, Bob has asked us really not to read letters, but we do have a couple that we want to at least make note of. The first is from a friend of Bob's longstanding, and it goes, "Dear Bob, I am writing you from the set of my latest General Tire commercial to give you my best wishes for a long and happy retirement. I want to thank you for your past support and efforts on behalf of my career and my career goals. Although your efforts were unsuccessful, I understand that they had quite an impact on your career. That Mario never forgets. I still don't quite understand why a Capital District boy like yourself would support a guy like me who walked around in the days asking people, how am I doing? Anyway, lots of luck and thanks for showing me there are good Chinese restaurants in the Albany area. Sincerely, Ed Koch. P.S. I am now collecting for Aldemado. Can I sign you up for a donation? Our second letter is from the Executive Chamber, and it starts, Dear Mr. Hogan, a little bit more formal. I must say that I was quite surprised to learn of your impending retirement. I thought I had gotten rid of you in 1983. My plan was ingenious. Simply demoting you below McGurk should have been insult enough. But no, you had to stick it out. Then I came up with the idea of giving you an impossible task with Pasadomo. You remember that photo license thing that was supposed to be implemented statewide in less than 6 months? I thought for sure that would do it. Not. Not only did you foil my plans to eliminate you, I wound up having to keep Pasadomo around another year. I then became desperate, so I capped high-level civil servants' pay. I felt certain that indignity would prove too much for even you to bear. But you are a stubborn Irishman. So I conceived of 3, yes, count them, 3 early retirement plans to coax you out of my hair. Finally, yes, you were goaded by the 60% plan. Of course, to my chagrin, this allowed you to hang around 2 long years before calling it quits. Mr. Hogan, I usually compliment long-term employees on their distinguished service and their contributions to the state. But in your case, I think it more appropriate to praise you on your perseverance and your ability to thwart my best plans. Sincerely, Mario M. Cuomo. Bob, just to let you know, we have nice notes or letters from the following: Martin Feinblatt, Louis Tischler, from Ann Della Rocca, and I'm going to read that in a second. It's brief, but I think it makes a very, very important point. Ann is with the Civil Service Employees Association in our local chapter. From Karen Pellegrino, who is the president of our local PEF chapter, and her sentiments are very, very much the same as Ann's. She goes into a little more detail, but it's clear that a lot of people have a lot of love in their hearts for Bob. We have a letter from Pat and Belva Crayon, who are friends of Bob's these long years through his Zamba Association. Got a letter from Edwin Crawford, who is the executive director of the Association of Counties. Got a letter from Don Williams, who is the current AMBA president and commissioner of motor vehicles in Virginia. And a name from the past that many of us know, William Conway. Bill was the past commissioner of motor vehicles in the state of Vermont and is currently director of administration for the state of Vermont. Also have a nice letter from Tom Luizzo with the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. I should know that outfit. So Bob, we have these here for you, and I just want to read this one. Dear Mr. Hogan, on behalf of CSEA Local 674, Department of Motor Vehicles, the officers, delegates, and members, we would like to congratulate you on your retirement. Your many years at DMV have been not only a service to this department, but also a service to its employees. It is with great pleasure that I wish you the very best of health and happiness in all your endeavors in the years ahead. And I sign Anna Della Rocca. Now please welcome Jim Donnery of our Vehicle Safety Unit, who has a presentation to make to the Commission. I should let you know I goofed up Jim. we switched around the schedule a little bit so Commissioner Melton can make his claim. But come on up here, Jim.
Thank you, Duncan. Bob Hogan. About 2 years ago, I was in Albany Swan Street building for some training. Right about the time the 60% retirement plan was introduced. And in the hallways, my eyes fixed on this most puzzling apparition. And I focused on it all day long. Later that day, I went to see my boss, Bill Rank, and said, "Hey, Bill, you know, I was down by the training room, and I saw Bob Hogan walking along like this, with a Hawaiian shirt on, scoffing at the no smoking sign." And all Bill Rank had to say was, "Yeah, ain't it great?" At this time, I'm reminded of the circus owner who lost his human cannonball. And he sat in reflection and said, "Where am I ever going to find another man of his caliber?" I got a little present for Bob. It's a picture, and at the time I took the picture, I didn't realize what significance it would have now that I've heard Duncan reveal the plans that Bob has for his employment in the future. With Bob's interest in traffic and traffic safety and his ongoing motor vehicle activities, I think it's especially poignant that this is the crossroads of Hogan and South Hogan. And I'd like to present it to Bob Hogan on behalf of Vehicle Safety and thank him for the friendship I've had with him over the years and wish him the best of health and the best of good wishes throughout his retirement and the rest of his fine life.
Thanks, Jim.
Duncan, excuse me. Excuse me, Duncan. There's a guy down here on the floor that insists he has to say something about Bob. Can we take a minute and let him talk?
Who is it?
Clark here. Well, no, it's not Clark anymore. He's big. He's got a lot of weight on him. He looks to have Greek heritage.
It's got a watch. It's got to be that Greek god Harry, right?
Is your name Harry, sir? Would you please say something, Harry?
I know you're all prepared for me to say something funny and nasty and mean, but I couldn't do that in front of Joan and Bob's children, so all I'm going to say is very brief and but from the bottom of my heart. I met Bob in 1970. We became immediate and fast friends. He is my closest and dearest friend. He is the most loyal person that I have ever met, and he has done more for me than anyone I could think of. So I'd like to thank him for that, and thank Joan, and thank the kids, and wish you the best of luck, Bob.
This is fun. I saw Phil Donahue do it. He has gray hair, and I have gray hair. Do you mind if I ask a few other people?
No, go ahead.
Let's see.
I hope you don't strike out.
Here's a guy here. He's got a funny button on. Your name is, what's this button? S-H-O-R-T. Oh, okay. Well, why don't you tell us your first name and say something about our guest here tonight, Bob Hogan.
My name is Art Berman, and I work in the appeals board. And I have a serious tribute for Bob put down on paper, and it takes the form of 2 separate verses. Bob Hogan took a flight to Nantucket. for sure. Tinkers to Evers to Chance were not on frequent flyer combinations, but Bob's route, Albany to Detroit via France, awarded him Marriott accommodation. I never worked for Bob, I was never promoted by Bob, but Bob is a friend of mine, and I was listening to Joan's recitation of the Irish toast. And the only thing, Bob, that I would caution is that when you walk with the wind behind you, that's a good thing. Except if you've been to Hot Dog Charlie's and have the usual combination there. We love you. Godspeed. We'll see you soon.
Well, Doc, why don't you take it back, and I'll see if there's anybody else out here in the meantime that might want to say something.
Okay, very good, Bill. Thank you. Anybody wants to say a few words to Hogan, please let Bill know. Anybody wants to say a few words about anything else, please let Bill know. Helen, where's my glasses? Anybody who's worked on the 5th floor, or for that matter, anywhere in a building, at one time or another have heard those infamous words, Helen! Helen! Where's my something or other? We really worked on this. We had a great schedule and game sequence, and we have shot it all to hell. I mean, you have no idea. But I am catching up. Every organization worth its salt has a historian, and DMV is blessed with Methuselah Carroll. Betty Baby, front and center.
I've been called the last of the Mohegans, but I haven't been called Methuselah today. Before I begin my formal part of the program, I would like to thank you all for coming to celebrate Diane Root's birthday with her. Happy birthday, Diane. What I've been asked to relate to you today is a story about the starship Dimdu as it journeys in space and time through the Empire solar system on its voyage to the Quality Galaxy. This mission, as defined by the Federation, is to create a new and vibrant organization using mission statements, task forces, pilot projects, project teams, and hopefully a strategic plan to reach that galaxy. Under the able leadership of our Commander-in-Chief, Patty Neat Paducci, with capable support from her Executive Deputy Commander, REW, affectionately referred to as the Cookie Monster, and a fine, large supporting cast of deputy commanders scattered throughout the starship. The Federation found itself in this desperate condition as a result of many lost battles with the Budgetrons, a group of aliens, half human, half beast, noted for their limited intelligence, ill humor, and stunted foresight. We know they have these traits because we had caged a handful of them on the lower deck of this starship and used them to communicate with their alien brethren as we circled the planet Capitol. As historian of this spaceship, I can recall much happier journeys when our guest of honor was known as Deputy Commander Hogan. It was during the time when the Federation was led by Hugh the Redhead, who was known to enjoy a glass of PCBs or some other nectar on some occasion. It was during his reign that our Commander-in-Chief was Melton the Magnificent. This was a time when the Starship Dimby only had 2 deputy commanders. Our honored guest today, and Deputy Commander McGurk, known as the Dynamic Incompetent. Deputy Commander Hogan had used his usual charm, guile, and a lot of deceit to ingratiate himself with the Commander-in-Chief and became First Deputy Commander. I understand that Deputy McGurk has resumed leadership of the Aspens, a small band of renegades looking for members and a mission. Best of luck, Jim. With Commander Hogan in charge of the Starship, we began our journey, and what a journey it was. We had an official DMV Golf League. We got pay raises every year, and crew members traveled. I can remember when 8 crew members went to the planet California to see their photo license system, and one of the 8 was chairman of the Repair Shop Appeals Board. Federally funded travel, of course. Commander Hogan with some half a dozen of his captains to discuss a very important issue. During this meeting, Commander Hogan would answer 5 or 6 personal telephone calls, holler at Helen to have someone pick up his dry cleaning, and then make a decision without even hearing one argument that any of his captains had made. Somehow things got done. We still managed to give customer service, collect fees, issue licenses and registrations, and promote highway safety, even though the crew was stricken with a plague at the time. This disease was called itemitis, and the symptoms were complete disorientation. Crew members didn't know where their permanent battle stations were, whether they were federally funded or first instance funded, permanent or temporary, but they knew where to get their paycheck. In spite of this command style and plague, budgets got submitted on time, Harry got promoted, new computer systems got justified, Harry got promoted, new legislation got implemented, and Harry got promoted. The Starship Dimby continued merrily on its journey until the War of the Demons. A power struggle erupted between the forces of Ed and the forces of Marion. Commander Hogan uses his usual keen judgment, backed the forces of Ed, who lost the battle. When the forces of Mario took command of the Federation, Bob was beamed into Bernie's bailiwick almost immediately. However, this did not discourage our guest of honor from continuing to be one of the most enthusiastic travelers throughout the galaxy. He continued to beam himself across the universe using his frequent beamer card. His only competitor for most frequent beamer was Captain Duncan of the Kingpins, a merry band of banqueteers. In bringing this journey to a conclusion, I must confess that Bob never changed his style of command. It was the same before, during, and after his stewardship as First Deputy Commander of the Starship Dimby. He, of all people that I know, can very appropriately say, I did it my way. And I hope that when he takes command of the Starship retirement, he continues to do it his way. Bob, the best of luck on your retirement.
Duncan, before we go any further, back here, Duncan, in the middle, straight ahead. While going through the crowd, I noticed there was a commissioner here who we failed to acknowledge earlier. And his name is Don Savage, the commissioner of the Ilio-Chacon Baseball League. And he would like to say something about Bob and his activities in baseball. Commissioner?
Thank you, Bill. Bill is a team owner in the Ilio-Chacon Baseball Society. On his staff is Bob Hogan, who is the general manager. I want to flash back just a moment with you, if we can, to 1979. At that point, I was a relatively young staff guy in the state senate, and I had to have dealings with motor vehicles, and I met Bob Hogan. And I'd known of Bob, and I thought that we're in a meeting of about 8 or 10 people, and I could break the ice by making a linkage with Bob. And I said, Bob, didn't you used to teach at Averill Park High School? And he said, yeah, were you one of my students? And I said, no, I was too young for that. That was my older sister. Anyone who has zinged Bob, whether unintentionally or not, know that you pay for it every meeting thereafter for the rest of your life. And such was the case with Bob and my relationship. I don't think there was a single opportunity that Bob had to zing me that he did not, and in tenfold what I had delivered to him. But all of a sudden things changed. As commissioner of Ilio-Chacon Baseball Society, I was looking for a new team, and I talked to Rourke and Hogan, and they were both eager to join. And all of a sudden I have Bob kissing up to me, licking my boots, polishing apples and presenting them to me. And not knowing what was going on, I asked Rourke. And he said, Don, you don't understand. You're a commissioner. He can't help himself. Now Bob is going to retire. With him go all official functions. And now it becomes clear why he is seeking the job of Deputy Commissioner of the Ilio-Chacon Baseball Society for statistical recording and reporting to our computer network on Long Island. Because his lovely wife, Joan, has done a lot for Bob, but she's never lied. When he becomes Deputy Commissioner, he will spend all his time in Florida, having Joan on the phone to the Major League teams saying, Deputy Commissioner Hogan would like box seats behind home plate on Saturday. Bob, best wishes. And I look forward to a long relationship with you as my Executive Deputy Commissioner for the Ilio-Chacon Baseball Society and Rotisserie League.
Don't count on being commissioner if you want.
For those of you that didn't hear that, Bob's parting shot was, don't count on being commissioner too long. I'm going to take a second here and just perhaps give you a little illustration of how many people hold Bob in such high regard. You look around the room and you see that Abe Shapiro isn't with us today. Abe is from New York City. Well, wait a minute now. Abe is from New York City and works in an organization that Bob had a very, very singular role in establishing, our administrative adjudication system. See that? An old deep here. I got system in there somehow, didn't I? But our administrative adjudication office. Abe lost his mother in March and follows the traditional Jewish tradition of staying in mourning for a year. But Abe came all the way up here today, before the dinner started, to pay his respects to Bob, wish him the best in retirement, and then left and went back to New York, because in that year he does not participate in celebrations. I think this goes a long, long way to illustrate how high a regard so many people have for Bob Hogan. Two weeks ago, the international meeting of AMVA, the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, took place in Detroit. And we have with us today a gentleman, Bob Welch, better known as Wobby Belch of 3M. Wobby rented a video camera and got some sentiments from a number of friends of Bob who couldn't be with us today. It takes about 3 minutes. We're going to show it right here. Now let me just first say for the moment, that Wobby didn't get to where he is today based on his ability to use a video camera. But for the most part, it worked well.
Great golf in Louisiana, Louisiana. Hope you enjoy yourself. Bye.
Miss, I've been asked to say something at the second annual Bob Hogan retirement. Is this for real, or will we see you again? Remember, California and all its golf courses. I know I'll see you again. Bye.
Region 1, I want to tell you your legacy will be remembered. I intend to spend the rest of my career getting all the registration stickers back on the license plate where they belong. It took you a long time to get them on the windshield, but we'll take care of it. Seriously, all of us wish you the best in retirement. I want you to come down and visit, give us a call sometime on your way to Ocean City. Region 4, I want to wish you a happy retirement, or should I say your second or your third retirement. No, it's auspicious occasion, but the check is in the mail. Put it for the separate table, right? Did you say the table? Cardinal, okay, Bob, best of luck to you for all these years. Forward for retirement. Now's a good time to join the Loyal Order of Consultants. We'll be looking for you. Bob, I wish I could be there. I want you to come see me in Texas. It's been a pleasure working with you through all these years. You are a delight. And I wish I could have had a tape recorder and record all those stories that I heard the other night. Very best to you. Good guy. Could retire. Act like Bob Hogan had retired a long time. Well, I'm all glad that.
Can people in the back hear? I heard that we're having a little trouble getting back there. Everybody here? Oh, I know most of this everybody couldn't hear, but can you hear now? Thanks. They can hear me. That means somebody else that comes up here, maybe they don't hear you. Get up close, folks. We have a phone call for Carolyn Rotundo. Carolyn here? Phone call out in the main lounge. You just saw some of Bob's friends from AMVA. Now here live and in person is a former DMVer and now the Region 1 Director for AMVA, Jim Nash. Jim? Jim has a few words and a gift for Bob. And Bob, when Jim finishes, we'd like you to come up here and accept that gift, please.
The loudest voice was my wife, by the way, and that's why I married her. Never lets me down. I stand before you a miracle, living proof that Bob Hogan, Tom Seary, and Joe Lynn, a.k.a. the Fighting Irish, do let motor vehicle license examiners survive a career and go on to bigger and better things. Bob, for years I had the pleasure of working with you, for you, and sometimes against you, and sometimes making accommodations for you and your expanding family and all those folks we fit into the road test schedule in Schenectady. Where did they all come from? Where did they all come from? But we understood each other right off the bat, didn't we? Today, I represent the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, and I would like at this time, because we don't have time to introduce you all, with the folks here affiliated with AMVA, either through their jurisdiction or the industry, please stand up just to show the audience the representation from the folks connected to AMVA in any way, please. You are held in high regard by, all who have come to know you. This must be Duncan's speech. Your peers awarded you the AMVA Distinguished Service Award last year, and in respect for your long years of contributions to AMVA. On behalf of AMVA, I would like to present you with this token gift, emblematic of what you have given to AMVA, and a long and healthy life left. And you used to be faster.
Yeah, could be a lot of things. First of all, I never knew you worked against me, Jim.
I never let you know.
I appreciate this. I particularly appreciate getting from AMVA. What Jim didn't mention to you was that 2 weeks after they gave me the Distinguished Service Award, they were screaming a bit because we went over the budget for the conference. But that's okay.
Well, why don't you open that right here?
Oh. I don't work for you anymore. I don't have to do what you tell me. I don't even have to go into the men's room to talk to your husband.
Open your present.
They did tell you about it. It's a bottle of red ink. It was a hell of a conference, though. Thank you, Jim.
It was the best, Bob. Thanks.
Bob's a great straight man. He actually owned up to the bill 2 weeks later, and he did get a bottle of red ink to let Bob know they never forget you, Bob.
Duncan?
Yes.
I'd like to interrupt again, if I may. And I have someone here who's spoken before, but it's another commissioner. She spoke once, but since she has control over our careers, I'd advise that we let her speak again. What do you say?
Boy, I wish I were in your shoes, Bobby.
You always have to steal the line from me. Some really funny things have been happening around the department lately. And I was out of town on vacation, and then I went to the AMVA conference, and all of a sudden, it dawned on me a lot of people were interested in Bob Hogan's job. We didn't think anybody would want to know a job like that. But anyway, I understand that this very morning, the police were called to subdue the rioting employees who were trying to take possession of his office. We're now thinking of having a lottery and making some extra money for the department. On reflection, though, this knowledge does explain some recent strange happenings. Tom Seary offered to drive me around the state when he was in his county office. Ernie Kitchen sent me flowers on my birthday. Joe Sanders is having my office cleaned. They're putting in a new heating and cooling system. Duncan said I could have a screensaver and a mouse for my PC, and he'll teach me how to do my taxes on the computer. Sid Burke offered not to have the adjudication conference in the Catskills this year. And Bill Rourke has offered to take Bob Waters home every night at 9 p.m. so he can get to work on time the next day. Know that everyone wants Bob's job, these things begin to make a lot of sense. Nice try, guys, but we're going to use an objective, hands-on testing process to determine who gets Bob's job. These are his real shoes, and they're size 13D. It's a 20th century DMV version of Cinderella. After the presentations are over, I'd like all of those of you who are interested in Bob's job to come forward and try them on. Whoever they fit, you got it.
Oh, Patty, my other candidate, come up there.
Where are the other people? They're supposed to be in the skit. They're supposed to run up here right now.
I'd like to give this.
It takes two men to build Bob's shoes. Maybe the job's you. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute, Joyce. We'll give you a try, but you're at a disadvantage. You haven't made me any offers. Perfect fit. It takes one woman to fill Bob's
Of late, it seems women have played more and more a part in Bob's life. His beautiful daughter, Carol, who he's going to introduce to us later on, his lovely wife, Joan. And I realized just how much more a part in Bob's life, Joan in particular, was going to play. When he came into work the other day, and as we were sitting around talking about business, we kind of digressed into the happenings that morning, or actually the morning before. It seems that of late, Bob Hogan has taken to getting up early in the morning, going out on the porch and picking up the morning paper, sitting down with a cup of coffee and doing the crossword puzzle in pencil. He's gotten very good at it, and he usually completes it in 20 to 25 minutes. Then, as a good husband should, he erases it. Because Joan is still resting peacefully. He goes back, gets ready for work, or more and more of late, goes back, sleeps for an hour or two, and then gets up and gets ready for work, which means putting his loafers on with no socks. But nevertheless, he normally eventually leaves, and when Joan gets up, she comes out and does the puzzle. One day, Bob got up, went out, got the puzzle, or got the paper, looked at the cup of coffee, looked at the paper, and said to hell with it, he was going back to bed. And he did so. Joan beat him that day, got up, and when Bob finally got up without looking at the paper, he just got dressed and went to work. He came out home that evening, went to the paper, and lo and behold, there's the puzzle done in ink. Well, we've already heard what it's like to cross Hogan, and he turns to Joan and he says, Joan, I thought we had a deal. You did the puzzle in ink. Joan looked at him, didn't bat an eye, and said, get a life, Hogan. Renee Maxim, phone call in the lobby. Renee Maxim. I'm going to ask Bob Waters and Frank Allen to come up and make the presentation. And actually, Frank and Bob, if you want to do it right down here, Bill will meet you with the microphone. I think it might be easier. Bob's having a little trouble getting up and down the stairs.
He lives. He lives, Bob. Lots of.
You may have the lofty title of Executive Deputy Commissioner, but today I have to tell you I feel like chopped liver. Started out today, I walked into the office after a fairly lengthy illness, and my boss, Patty, asked me how I was doing, and I said, I'm okay for about 2-3 hours, but then I'm not good anymore. She goes, so what's new? I had to remind her that I was taught by Hogan. And I heard just a few moments ago that work offered to drive me home so I can get to work in the morning, and other people are trying to fill Hogan's shoes. Well, you have to point out, Hogan makes more money than I do. And he doesn't come in until 11 in the morning. I'm trying out for his job. That's right, I thought it'd be the right thing to do. But what Hogan really has taught us all, I think, was to be entrepreneurs in government. In fact, DMV is embarking on a whole new path, a whole new catalog of products and services to better enhance the life of consumers and people in the public. And he gave us a great idea when he took his usher's job for the Boston Red Sox. And Frank and I and some other folks, Bill Rourke, decided that we were going to approach the Boston people and see if we could come up with, in Bob's honor, a prototype, a souvenir of sorts to be sold through the Red Sox organization. I don't want to take all of Frank's thunder. I'd like to have Frank reveal the item today.
Thanks, Bob. Bob, I really tried to get an official Boston Red Sox uniform for you. They said they couldn't do that, no matter who I had to speak for you. Rather than give you a uniform, they thought they would make this presentation for something that you can keep forever, as a memory of your illustrious baseball career. So if you please come up. I also, communications had a big hand in doing this also. There's a very personal tribute there for you from George.
Jesus, this is a relief. I thought this was Spinelli's report.
I haven't opened it up yet, Bob. Don't miss it.
It's a lot bigger than that.
For the outsiders who don't get the joke, Frank works in our investigations unit.
Frank?
Very good, I like that. Oh, it's a miniature of a newspaper headline, exclusive DMV's Hogan to opt for free agency. It's a little Boston Red Sox guy with a spine of beer in his hand. Oh, it's got my name on the back and red suspenders, too. On the front of the shirt says Boston, and there's... You got 2 buttons open in that shirt. Look at him laughing. 2 years ago, we didn't know how to tie a tie.
Later on.
Here's another little gift.
Oh, very nice. This is a set of the new, what do we call them? Custom plates, okay, that will be going on sale sometime in the future. It's got the Boston Red Sox symbol on it. I'm very pleased with it. And I'm glad you were able to make it before the project was abandoned.
Bob, we just have one admonition. You have to use those legally, all right? He agreed. He said he'd use them legally. Pat said that'll cost you $65 a year plus registration. Okay, we're going to go remote now. Here with some words from the proverbial man in the street are Joe Sanders and Mike Graziati. Take it away, guys. I guess we're not going remote. They're coming into the studio.
Yeah, we have to go remote, but we think maybe you messed up our show here. Rewind that? Rewind the tape?
Rewind the tape?
No, don't rewind. Mike and I are here, Bob,
I'd like to wish you a happy retirement. And the last time, he and I collaborated on a project. We were inside a horse's suit at Alan Tannenbaum's party. Remember that one?
I just want to remind you that I was the front end, Joe.
Yeah, that would have made me the horse's, the other end. We wanted to do something a little different this time, and especially me.
Yeah, what we did was we tried to put together a hard-hitting, non-fact-based investigative report on video of what real people, that is non-DMV, thought about your retirement. And again, I had to talk to Parker.
Well, we took the camera out on the street, and assuming that we had the tape here, we'll roll it. Let's see if we got it.
This is not the good part, really.
Hurry up.
There's a couple I skipped.
Here's a view of the building so many years, some suggests pick up the check. Now let's go out to the main concourse to talk to some real people. Okay, here we are on the concourse. Trying to locate some people who talk to us about Bob and ending retirement. Oh, maybe let's stay over there, Joe. What do you think? We could want to talk to him? Maybe we'll talk to this gentleman first before we get to the roller skater. Well, sir, have you any comments to make about Robert Hogan's retirement from state service after 35 years? Hello, Robert Hogan, known as Mr. Motor Vehicle. Hey, thank you. Hey, how are you doing? You're doing very well on that. Listen, we'd like to know if you have any comments to make about Bob Hogan's upcoming retirement after 35 years of state service. Well, that's a big event. You don't know who Bob Hogan is? Mr. DMV? Mr. DMV? I heard his name on the news. No, Bob's much older gentleman. I like those skates. You ever considered roller derby or anything like that? No, this is purely recreational thing. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. That's candid comment. You have a good ride? Yeah. This is an interesting city. Check it out. Bob Hogan had nothing to do with it. Thank you. Back to you, Joe. Can we ask you a question about any comments you might have concerning Bob Hogan's retirement from state service after 35 years? He's known as Mr. DMV. Does that help? Two more people. Two more people who don't know Bob Hogan. State service after 35 years.
I don't work for the state.
She doesn't work for the state, therefore she doesn't know Bob Hogan. He's known as Mr. DMV. She doesn't know what DMV is, Bob. Thank you. Robert Hogan's retirement after 35 years of state service?
California.
From California. He's from California.
I know nothing about
don't know anything about Bob either. Well, Bob's Mr. DMV.
Oh, yeah, really? Yeah. We up for stay here?
Yeah, we are. Been here for 2 days, and he doesn't know you yet, Bob. Thank you. Would anybody like to comment about Robert Hogan's retirement from state service after 35 years?
Yeah, George.
You sure?
Yeah, we went for where are you from?
We're from New York.
You're from New York?
Are we filed out? Yeah, I don't know. All right.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Work here.
I don't know, I live in Troy and I'm not familiar.
More people not there with Robert Hogan. Young man, any comments to make? I guess not. Well, he's known as Mr. DMV, motor vehicles. You're pointing out this for a reason, Joe? Watch the pool, Joe. Watch out for the pool, would you please? You don't want to take our picture, do you? It's not to be shown on TV, Joe. Did you get that? I think it's a wrap. Sir, do you have any comments to make about Robert Hogan's retirement after 35 years of state service? I don't know, man. I don't know, man? Oh, is Mr. DMV? New York City. Well, welcome. Okay. Anybody know Bob Hogan? Comments to make about Robert Hogan's retirement after 35 years of state service?
I don't know.
You don't know the man. He's known as Mr. Motor Vehicles in some circles. Answer. Would you like to
Oh, but you know what? I think I have to wait on this. It's Unity.
You know, Bob, that kind of guy. Maybe we should follow up at some place like yours. Okay, well, here we are, across the street from your house. That woman gave us an excellent idea. Perhaps we should find out from management and or patrons of Yono's, get their reaction to Bob's retirement. I'm going to ask management if they've assessed the economic impact of Bob's retirement on your well-being. Well, let's go across the street, Joe, and see what we can find out. It says here that friends of Hogan not welcome, I think. I just can't get in this door. It's locked. They must have known we were coming, Joe. This could be what Yono's is going to look like when Bob retires. Bartender, cook, waiter, who knows? At another eatery frequented by Bob, Corona Del Rey. I don't know what it was last week. Let's go in and see what these folks might think about Bob's retirement. I didn't know if you knew that Robert Hogan was retiring after 35 years of state service. You know Bob? Do you have any comments to make about Bob's retirement? And have you assessed the economic impact on your operation?
Well, we hope he enjoys his retirement. Probably won't have any economic impact on our operation there because he'll probably stop by anyway.
Well said. Ma'am?
Wish him a very happy retirement and supposed to be safe, I'm sure. He'll be around.
Two people that actually know Bob Hogan. That's not bad, Bob. 2 out of 14. Huh. Don't have any comments. Excuse me. Bob Hogan is retiring after 35 years of state service. Mr. DMV.
DMV. Who's Bob?
That's a good comment.
Isn't Bob the fellow with no arms and no legs that likes to swim?
Let's follow that. Hear that one, folks.
Who's the real thief? He's got it. He's got it. You got it too? That's too far away. Hey, hey, Bob, did you get any retirement presents? A pair of socks, maybe? Okay. Thank you.
I love you, Bob.
I know that ended somewhat abruptly, but if you listen real close, you'll hear the guy say, "We love you, Bob." And we thought there was no better way to end it than "We love you, Bob."
I must say, I like this a lot better than the horse act, and I don't care who the horse's ass was.
Duncan?
Yeah,
Over here, I've got a representative from Yono's Restaurant who was kind of upset that they weren't given an opportunity to speak on the tape, and they'd like to make some comments now.
Like Robert, I'm sure there are two people who are very happy you're retired. I'm one. Because after, 1, 2, 4, 5 happy hours at Yono's, I don't have to chase you that half block with your briefcase. And your lovely wife in the morning, she doesn't have to chase you the other half of the block with the briefcase. But I have to take this moment out to wish you all the best in the world on your retirement, and I have to do it now because I've got to go open up the bar right now because everyone hasn't gotten the word and I still get 1 or 2 customers. Okay? All the best, buddy. Thank you.
Ernie, right behind you.
Right behind you, Ernie. Someone is watching. No, not even close.
A man of charm and wit, Ernie Kitchen, would like to say a few words.
You got the right, Ernie Kitchen. I've had the opportunity to work with Bob Hogan very closely for the last 7 years, and I guess I'm another one of the serious presenters today. I've known Bob for about a dozen years, and Bob, one thing that I would say about those dozen years is that, as you can see from right now, a lot of things haven't changed. I'm still one of the last people that they think about. And I get a heck of a hard job following all these people, but I'll try and do my best as always with it. Bob Waters mentioned that Bob has been a mentor to him. Bob's been very significant in my career and the career of a lot of people, I think, in the agency. And I think what I did was, last night I tried to put together a list of some of the things that Bob has taught me that I thought might be interesting to share with you today. And I've got a list here somewhere. Hang on. Tina, do you know what I did with that list? I guess when you hang around people, some things kind of rub off. Thanks, Tina. Yeah, the things that Bob has taught, Bob has taught me a lot of things. One of the things that he's taught me is how to find the best seats on an airplane. There's just a little trick to this. You go to the last second. You go up to the counter and you talk to the people, and you kind of disguise a limp if you have one. If you're bent over from trying to carry your bags and things like that, getting injuries, you fake that too. Bob's taught me how to recognize a vendor from 50 yards away, especially those who are willing to buy you dinner. Oh, by the way, Jim Rose, I know you're here. It's okay. There's not a problem here with this. Bob also gave me a bound copy of the Public Officers Laws, and he's got some very careful indexes and tabs in there, and especially on the part about accepting gratuity. So I think I'm okay with it. Bob's also taught me a little about geography and a little about the country. I didn't know a lot about the country and the workings of the various agencies before I started traveling with Bob, and that's just recently. And I still don't know a lot about those, but I can now name every Marriott in every major city in the US of A. So my education is continuing. Speaking of which, if any of you still have stock, if you're small investors in Marriott, please see your broker before Monday. Because I have a feeling when the word gets out, well, you know what's going to happen. You heard of Black Monday, well, here we go again. Bob wouldn't really be a complete mentor, though, and really wouldn't have completed my education unless he also took care of some of the cultural education needs and physical development needs that I had. He's taught me a lot in terms of culture, by the way. I want to show you. I didn't always used to dress like this, you know, but Bob's taught me the tie, the suit, the shoes, forget the flag. And you don't know how tough that is. As a kid coming from western New York, where the snow gets pretty deep, I admit my heart went into Bob. I can also do a couple of other things I couldn't do in terms of my cultural development. I can now walk around and I can hum and whistle all the Andrew Lloyd Webber tunes that were ever done. And that's helped a lot with my physical development because when you grow up in the neighborhoods that I grew up in and you start walking along absentmindedly humming those tunes, well, the guys in the hood aren't down with Andrew Lloyd Webber. And as we started traveling, one of the things that Bob said to me was, he said, now look, Ernie, watch me. I want you to follow my lead. And I also want you to pick up on anything that I forget. So, as always, I try to follow Bob's lead, watch him do what he says, and pick up anything that he's forgotten. So, Bob. We went to New York. And I think you left this in the back of a cab. Does this look familiar? I picked up on that one. That was one I think you forgot. I'll leave it over here for now. And I think when we were in Texas, I think you forgot this tie. I know you got a lot of ties in. But this is a very unique tie because what I've done is, you know those idiot mittens that the kids used to wear? So I figured if I put something on this, then maybe it would lose this tie. So you already tried it? No, it doesn't work? And I know you like to do your crosswords in the morning and everything, so just in case you're worried about losing your pencil, I made this special holder for you. You can put that on. And I got a list, by the way, of a couple of other things that I'm trying to find for you. And as soon as I complete my shopping, I got some calls out all around the country. We'll take care of this stuff. I'm not the only one that Bob taught. So Bob has taught a lot of people a lot of things in the agency. And one day I get word that there were a number of middle managers who were walking around the agency and they were trying to figure out, since we're kind of the little folks, we didn't get into the deputy meetings a lot. And everybody's wondering, especially when we got a change in the deputies, how do those meetings go? So Bob had a little lesson for everybody, and he kind of pulled this little item out. They say that the clothes say a lot about the man. Well, Bob can make the clothes talk in other ways, too. And he held this up, and he said, you know who that is? And everybody said, yeah, that's Mickey Mouse. And he said, you know who his favorite pal is? Everyone said, Pluto? No. Dopey? No. Goofy? Yeah, Goofy. Well, now you know about the deputy meetings. Seriously, what I would like to say is I have had the opportunity to work with Bob very closely for the last 7 years, and he has taught me a lot. This is something that a lot of people don't know. About 10 years ago, I talked with Bob the first time I actually really met him, about 12 years ago. And at that time, Bob approached me and he was talking to me about an opportunity that he thought was available to me in the agency. And it was really very flattering because it was the first time anyone in the agency had come to me and said, hey, I got a job for you. And we talked about it, and I made a great career move then. I made a big mistake and turned down the offer that Bob made. And any of you who know Bob, when he starts doing this, you know you're in big trouble. And I thought I was in real big trouble. I said, great, I'm never going to have anything happen to me in this agency again. But just to show you the kind of character that Bob has, and that's the reason I'm really telling you about this story. A couple of years later, I came back to Bob, and this time it was me asking him about a job. It was one that I felt that I was very qualified for, and a number of other things. And I put it to him. I put the question to him, and he said, you know, let me think about it, let me look into it, and let me see what we can do about this. And again, there aren't a lot of people, once you've made that big mistake of kind of looking to get force in the mouth and turning them down, that would give you that second opportunity. Bob, it's been a real pleasure working with you, sharing those quiet moments and those discussions that we've had, sharing about the family. I really appreciated it. It's been a wonderful experience, and I'm proud and privileged to say to you something that you said to me, so long, pal, and you take care. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Ernie. We're getting down toward the end.
Doc, I have to interrupt one more time. Ian Lee has something he just has to say. Ian?
Which happens very seldom. As I was on my way here, I saw these little red and white signs on the side of the road, which was kind of odd because I thought they'd been phased out 40 years ago. But they seem to express a sentiment of the moment of many people here, and so I wrote down what it said, and I thought I'd just read it to you. Bob Hogan puts himself up high. The rest of us can't figure why. Vermicelli.
Okay, we're getting down toward the end. We've got
just a moment.
Victory for short! Victory for short! Victory for short! Victory for short! Victory for short!
We seem to have been inundated by a band of wee people, or is that pee weeple? I'm going to turn this over to, well, it was supposed to be Buzz and his runts, which I was going to introduce as Ruzz and his bunts, but then they switched Kerry to the leader, and I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Did anybody here believe what we've been hearing today? When's the last time you saw big-name politicians lining up to claim credit for forcing a guy like Hogan into retirement? Well, we're going to cut through the political rhetoric and set the record straight.
Before today, most of you probably thought Hogan was retiring because he finally milked the system for all he can get. While he's certainly done that, there's a lot more to the story of how we got to today's climactic event.
The real reason behind Bob's decision to retire is the cumulative effect of a decade of dedicated effort by what was, until today, a secret society of harassed DMVers, united in a mission to speed Hogan's overdue retirement time. Short, that's right. It's short for short, and also to satisfy the DMV love for acronyms.
The Short Society was founded in 1982, near the end of the Hugh Carey administration, by a desperate group of vertically challenged DMV employees. Most of the original members had even then been systematically brutalized by today's honoree for longer than anyone can remember, to a point that we considered ourselves the one true disadvantaged minority at DMV. Lack of a few inches in physical height translated to a life lived in a constant peril of becoming the public target of tirades of jokes, anecdotes, or insults from Hogan and his entourage of imitators. No occasion or encounter was safe, and the frequency of such abuse seemed to increase in line with the growth of Hogan's power and influence in the department.
Desperate desire to end the endless torture led to the birth of Short, the The timing of our founding was due to recognition that the 1982 election for governor might provide the opportunity to rid ourselves of the oppressor. You may question whether Hogan's retirement was at that time a realistic goal, as he had then not yet reached the ripe old age of 49. We felt, however, that if his promising DMV career could be undermined, he might choose to con some other unsuspecting employer into bidding for his services. We really didn't care how it happened, we just wanted to get rid of him.
The first step toward Hogan's demise was easy. As the election approached, we took every opportunity to fill his head with inane political analysis and predictions, and Bob was easily misled into backing the wrong horse. We at Short knew this would cause him some difficulty, but not wanting to be left subject to the whims of party politics, we pursued an additional course of action that proved decisive. We recognized that Governor-elect Cuomo was a champion of the oppressed, and that's all we needed. One short letter to the new governor outlining Bob's long and sordid history of sins against the vertically challenged, and Deputy Hogan was no more.
Hogan's decision to hang on in DMV following this ultimate indignity amazed us as much as it did Mario. The degree of our shock and dismay is reflected in the next and darkest chapter in the history of Short.
Governor Cuomo referred in his letter today to giving Bob an impossible task with Posedomo, called the photo license thing. While it's painful for us to even talk about this, we must admit that several members of Short, including the both of us, actually aided and abetted Hogan's hang-on effort by contributing to the accomplishment of the impossible task. We let sympathy for the innocent victims of the governor's plan override the chance to advance our quest, and in doing so, we extended our own torture.
6 long years of intensive behind-the-scenes lobbying by everybody at Short was necessary to correct this mistake. We pressed GOER, DOB, and the legislature to enact a sequence of retirement incentive plans. DOB was our main target for getting the salary cap applied. When those measures didn't work, we saw Comptroller's office help in squeezing off the one last perk that seemed to keep our adversary going. A series of rule changes resulting in ever-tightening travel restrictions had no more effect than a mosquito on an elephant's back. Bob's travel excesses in his career lumbered on and on. At least in those latter years, though, there were substantial periods of relief for Short when the tormentor was out of town.
Throughout the 1984-1990 period, we also worked the appointments office regularly. This resulted in a series of new bosses for Bob. Each one brought him a new set of frustrations and a further decline in mental stability. But instead of giving up, he just found more and more creative ways to exercise escapism through travel.
Finally, in 1990, we concluded the final step in our quest could only be achieved by burying him in money, and the 60% plan was born. The ability to plunder the state treasury for 2 full years and then escape all the annoyances of state service proved more than even this consummate freeloader could resist. Short's goal was in sight. All that remained was to survive the final 2 years, and Bob made that easier by making sure no potential travel benefit went uncollected.
And thus we arrive at today's event. Single-mindedness of purpose has made us persevere, and today we publicly announce the success of our mission. The final, we hope, retirement of Robert J. Hogan, the scourge of the vertically challenged. The Lilliputians, and we fondly hope to never again hear that word after today, have triumphed over the man who thinks he's Gulliver.
But today is not the time for gloating, no matter how immense our triumph. Through all the years of abuse and mistreatment, we've come to recognize that perhaps sarcasm and vilification are indeed the sincerest forms of flattery and envy. So as a peace offering, Bob, we've decided to make you an honorary wee person.
We think you'll like small life once you've tried it. There are definite advantages. For example, slow dancing with tall women will become a whole new experience for you.
Hitting golf balls from under trees will be easier than you ever imagined. And that's a skill improvement we know you desperately need.
spotting and picking up money dropped by other people without being detected will also be easier.
You'll also be able to save money on clothing because you can buy from the boys department in any store.
Bob, if you'll come up here right now, we'd like to start you on your way to enjoying these and maybe one or two other benefits we forgot. And to see if you really are a weak person material, I promise there won't be any pies involved.
To start you off, Bob, we'd like to provide you a few of the essentials for a wee wardrobe. Buzz will help you see if they fit.
Kind of resembles the Incredible Hulk, doesn't it?
Nice tie.
Don't touch the hair.
I had to give him my favorite tie.
Oh, no, no.
One last thing.
No, no.
You're going to need this.
I've been quiet.
We'll give it to you anyway, because we know you're going to inevitably get involved in dwarf tossing. I think we can now officially say you're an honorary wee person. Enjoy your retirement.
I want to thank Fulton. That was really fun, wasn't it? Oh, his spots are good, huh?